and Ohio. I just came back from both those states. Now, if you don't know Greg Palast, let me give you a little bit of information. Miss Bad Penny, thank you. I'll leave that there. Rarely seen in public. Okay, for those who are not familiar with my work, I was a reporter for BBC Television and the Guardian newspapers, where we do investigative reporting. I do that from Britain because investigative reporting, as you know, is not permitted in the U.S. under Patriot Act 3. So I had to go into exile to report, in particular on the election of 2000. In Florida, George Bush officially won by 537 votes, not counting 56,000 black men and some women who were removed from the voter rolls of Florida before the election by a woman named Catherine Harris, Secretary of State. And she did it, by the way, under the direct orders, because I have the documents, the direct orders of a guy named Jeb Bush, whose brother was running for President of the United States. What a coincidence. What was the grounds for removing black people from the voter rolls? The answer was they were criminals, felons, not allowed to vote. There was not one American reporter, not one, who said, could we see that list? They wouldn't give me the list. I'm an investigative reporter. I got the list. We cracked the codes and we got the names. People and I went to visit these criminals, like Willie Steen, who worked in a hospital. That's odd. You can't work in a hospital with a felony conviction in Florida. I met Willie Steen. He says, I've never even gotten a traffic ticket. He said, I went with my 5-year-old son to show what Martin Luther King had done for our people, that we can vote. And they said to me, in front of my son, you can't vote, you're a felon. You're a convicted criminal. And he was sent away, him and 56,000 other black men. How do I know that they're black? Because on the sheets that I got, where their names were removed, it said B-L-A, B-L-A. B-L-A. They weren't taking any chances. You know how many people, the New York Times 4 years later reported on the story of the flawed list. Flawed, this is another New York Times specialty, flawed list, fraud list. There wasn't one single convicted felon illegal voter on that list. Zero, butt kiss, nada. Okay, sorry, my Spanish isn't that good. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because we're back to the list game. Okay? In Ohio, could you show me that here? This is not Vanna White. This is one of the best international investigators from Switzerland. Lenny Bad Penny. Now, you're going to have to take, I feel like Joe McCarthy. I've got a document here. Except the difference between me and Joe McCarthy is I've actually got the documents, okay? So one document says here, this is the voter registration of black people, which is kept, there's a record of how many black people register in each state. In Ohio, there were 723,000 black people registered in Ohio in 2012. Then, do you have the other one? In 2012. Now, 4 years later, how many more black people are on the voter rolls in Ohio? 680,000. Wait a minute. 43,000 black people just went poof off the voter rolls of Ohio. How does that happen? How does that happen? That the number of registered black people in Ohio, the number of white people went up, the black population of Ohio went up, same in North Carolina, and in all these swing states we're seeing suddenly the black population is disappearing off the voter rolls, and the Asian population, and the Hispanic population. And the number of American reporters asking about this is exactly bupkis, zero, nada, none. I get on a plane to Ohio. I start digging around. I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on until I heard some guy with a bad hairdo named Trump say that there are lots of people, lots of voters voting many times. People are voting a lot of times, a lot of vote fraud. And then I heard another brain damaged freak, that is, he was a Fox commentator named Dick Morris. And Dick Morris said that there are millions of people voting twice, and that we have their names. They're on a list called Interstate Cross-Check. Hundreds of thousands in North Carolina, the swing state. What's going on here? So I called out to Carolina. I said, you have hundreds of thousands of people voting twice. I spoke to their Secretary of State's office. I said, that's a criminal. Go to jail, 5 years in prison, crime to vote twice. Could I have the names of these criminals? No. Why not? It's a criminal investigation, and it's all confidential. I said, wow, how many have you busted? You have hundreds of thousands. Zero bupkis, none. Except they didn't say bupkis. So North Carolina, whatever you say. None. They said it's hard to find them. I said, wait, they're registered voters. You have their name and their address, and they show up at the polls. How difficult? Now I used to work for the Justice Department. How difficult is it to find these people? Ms. Babbitt, can you hand me a list of cross-check lists, please? Or just hand me the sheet. She's not used to the Vanna White roll here. We'll try to do this quickly. Yeah, no, that's all right. She knows I'm half blind. So, North Carolina, they won't tell us. We go down there. But you can't have the numbers. You call 29 states. We can't, that are on this cross-check program. What it is they're saying that people are voting in 2 states in the same election at the same time, that they're zooming all over the place. So, but no one will give me the list because it's a criminal investigation. No one's getting arrested. It seems so hard to find these voters. So we are, the Greg Palast, the investigative team, headed by this young woman here, our job is, as soon as they say it's confidential, somehow we find the documents. And sure enough, we have now 2 million names, 2 million Americans accused of voting twice. It's the biggest felony crime wave in U.S. history, if this is true. Or it's the biggest attack on the voter rolls since Katherine Harris ran wild in Florida. Okay? And that's what we went down to look for. So we hunted down. So we got our hands on these lists. So let's go find these voters. And we hunted down one who had a bus. And he had all these state stickers on the bus. So I said, I got this guy. Okay, I got this guy. He voted twice. I had the evidence on the list. Okay. Willie H. Nelson voted in one state as Willie H. Nelson, and in another state as Willie Mae Nelson. And so I asked this Willie Nelson, who had these pigtails on, oh, is that how you got away with going in as Willie Mae with the pigtails? I'm not making this up, by the way. I really did go to Willie Nelson, who's on the list. And that's how they decided that millions of people were voting twice. Willie Nelson, Willie Mae Nelson, and let's see. Did you read some of these? I'm blind. Just read some of these names. Full names. Middle names.
All right. Clarence McCain Williams of Georgia is the same person as Clarence Aaron Williams in Mississippi.
Okay, so that's just one. So basically we found,
Get the idea.
so that, okay, last name Williams, first name Clarence, different middle names, different states. Now, are they, now that obviously the same voter, right? Now, Williams is not a common name, right? So that's clearly, Nelson's not a common name. Elmer, we have one, James Elmer Barnes Jr. and James Cross Barnes III. Same voter or father and son? Okay? So what's going on here? I want to tell you that in the end there are 7.2 million Americans being accused of voting twice. 2 million of those names, people, 2 million names on the list don't even match for middle name. 250,000 don't match for junior, senior. Hey, you can laugh, and it's laughable, except it's not a joke, because the joke's on us. Because those people, William James Barnes Jr., James Elmer Barnes Jr. and James Cross Barnes III are both losing their vote. And they have something else in common. So why in the world would, now here's another hint. In case you just, if you're saying, oh, well, this is kosher, you can't have double voters. Who's in this program? 29 states. 28 are run by Republican secretaries of state. Now that shouldn't make you suspicious. But, by the way, I met with Mr. Barnes. He's never been crossed, and he's never been the third of anything. Okay. We met, they couldn't find these voters. We could. Willie Nelson and Mr. Barnes and Mr. Park. Who apparently voted about 2,000 times. Park, Kim, Chung, Hernandez. Believe it or not, there's one guy, Jose Hernandez, who's just, I don't know how he does it, but he votes thousands of times. There are literally, you're talking about the Jackson 5, they're the Jackson 5,000 in just Georgia. Now you're seeing the pattern. The pattern is simple. The effect of slavery in the United States is common names of black people. The pattern of immigrants among Asian Americans is such that, for example, there's, as the head of the Korean Legal Defense Fund said, we only have Kim, Kim, Park, Lee, and Ho. That's it. Okay? And therefore, ready? 1 in 8 Asian Americans in these states, including the swing states of Ohio and North Carolina, 1 in 8 Asian Americans are on the list. Now, let me ask you another question on this cross-check list. 1 in 8. 1 in 7 African Americans, 1 in 7 Hispanics are on the list. Virginia alone admitted that they had already removed 41,000 people for voting twice illegally. I said, how many of you arrested? It is a crime. None. Why are you removing people? Okay. Now, Asian Americans used to split their vote. Now they vote like they've turned black. They're voting Gangnam style. 75% of Asian Americans vote Democratic. Okay? Hispanic Americans, we know where that's going, especially if Trump is running, right? We know, okay, we know African American vote. What's going on here is a brilliant, devious, and completely hidden. How many newspapers have you read about cross-check yet? Oh, I tell you, Washington Post praising the program. Let's get rid of double voters. NBC News, 200 stories on cross-check, but not one telling us, actually checking to see whether there is a single double voter. Okay? Now, I'm keeping it short because I want to keep it to this one point. This is no joke. We're talking over 500,000 voters, almost all of them at-risk Democrats. It's not that I'm for saving Democratic votes. I am for saving democracy. I'm nonpartisan. I really am. I've busted Democrats trying to steal votes too. But the hell if I'm going to say President Trump because it was stolen by a devious and sick and racist Jim Crow tactic. And that is what is going on. And it's only been possible because since Obama got reelected, there's been one major change in America, and it's called the end of the Voting Rights Act. This would not be possible. This is the new Ku Klux Klan. But instead of white sheets, they're using spreadsheets. This is lynching by laptop, and it's not a matter of Democratic or Republican or Trump or Hillary or Bernie. This is America, and it ain't America if we get cross-checked out of it. Now, I'm taking on, right now I'm making a film, and I'll leave you alone. Digest your pasta. I'm making a film. Feature film, because I can't get on TV and guys. People say, "Oh, you're the alternative underground internet guy." No. I'm mainstream. BBC television. We are the mainstream. Okay, the others are just a sideways issue in America. But if I want to take my story to America and not just have a show a film that's broadcast on a TV station that's off the coast of Ireland, in London. If I want to take it home and make a difference, I have to make it here. So this is citizen journalism. We need your support. And I want to tell you, if you send a message to this lady at Palast, that's P-A-L-A-S-T, Palast at gregpalast.com. Tell me we're looking for mini moguls, not big producers. If you've got $1,000, you get listed as a producer, or $100, you get your name on the credits, because we're doing this as a movement, not just a movie. And we're organizing, we're joining with Operation Push, we're joining with Asian Americans Advancing Justice, we're joining with Color of Change, we are joining with LULAC, which is the main Hispanic fighting organization on voter rights. These are the groups that are going to take our point, our film. We've got videos, we've got great people, besides Willie Nelson on camera. We do have Ed Asner's playing Santa Claus. But it's a real deep investigative film, and we're also giving you the names of the guys who are funding this cross-check racist horror show and the ethnic cleansing of the American democracy. Okay? People you may have heard of, four-letter word KOCH, and we're going to tell you why and how, and give you stuff on them. I've been investigating. I did a film on them 20 years ago, by the way. Rich guys you never heard of. Now we're going to bring some new guys, like Paul the Vulture Singer. I'm just going to throw that name out. The #1 donor to the Republican Party, who is not named Coke. His name is, well, he's known in the biz as the Vulture. Okay, that's who we're up against. You want to help out? Now, the other thing we have, books?
Yes.
Okay.